From the tops of the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. When it comes to searching for monsters in the bogs and forests, Lyle Blackburn is one of the biggest names in the field. Known for his rustic leather cowboy hat, Lyle is the author of several acclaimed books, including The Beast of Boggy Creek and Lizard Men, whose subject matter reflects his long life fascination with legends and sighting reports of unknown creatures. When Lyle isn't writing books, hunting monsters, or performing with his band Ghoultown, he can be found speaking at various crypto conferences and appearing at horror conventions around the United States. Lyle's website is lyleblackburn.com. I suggest you check it on out. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Lyle Blackburn, it's been about 3.5 years since we had you on Spaced Out Radio last. But, man, you don't age. I was looking at your recent photos, man. Like, do you ever age?
I don't know. People ask me that. I guess I age gracefully, or I take good photos. I don't know. But, doing this kind of work keeps you young, though, you know.
I hear you, man. I just cannot figure it out. I want some of that. I look like I'm an 82-year-old man. I'm going to be honest. I'm 46. It's terrible. I need some of that secret juice you got.
Well, you know, if I could bottle that up and sell it, I'd probably sell more of that than books. But so far, I haven't been able to capture that secret.
Well, you know what? I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It's always a pleasure to have someone of your abilities to come on this show and kind of break down what is happening in the forests around North America. Lyle, for people who may not be familiar with your work, how did you get into this? What was your fascination that brought you into this field?
Well, I mean, like a lot of people probably, as a kid, you know, I would just sort of gravitated towards these subjects. You know, my first exposure was to monster movies and horror movies, and I loved that stuff, you know. But at some point I saw the infamous Patterson-Gimlin film and read books about Loch Ness Monster and the Yeti, and that really captured my imagination because I thought, wow, these kind of monstrous creatures could actually exist. And, you know, maybe someday I could go to Scotland and find one. But lo and behold, I ended up seeing a movie called The Legend of Boggy Creek at a drive-in when I was pretty young, and that dramatized the incidents that took place in southern Arkansas, not far from where I live in Texas, about an ape-like, Bigfoot-like creature attacking people up there in the swamps. So once I saw that, I thought, wow, that's much closer to home. It really just kind of brought everything together. I'd been hunting with my dad since I was little and, you know, always out in the woods. And so the fact that there could be a Bigfoot creature around, that kind of stuck with me all my life. And then later on, I became a musician and a writer and you know, wanted to write the great American novel or something. But then I thought, what is my favorite subject? What would I want to write about if I did a book? And I thought, what is the true history of the Legend of Boggy Creek? So that's what I set out to do, and I wrote the book, and that came out in 2012, and that kind of set me on this path of you know, more of a career of monster hunting, if you will.
Lyle, you are one of the very few people in this field that has been able to make a living off of the paranormal, supernatural, monsters, whatever it may be. We always hear people saying that, you know, there's no money in this field. There's no way anybody can have a career unless they've sold out. I'm sure you've heard all the BS like that before. What do you say about that? How have you been able to carve a niche out for yourself where you're able to do what you love?
Well, I think part of it is a little bit of luck and determination and having some experience with self-marketing, I guess. I mean, having been in bands, and early on I was on big labels, and then I ended up doing an independent thing and starting my own record label. So I'd kind of learned a little bit about merchandising and marketing, so that when I took a break from that and wrote the book, I had a sensibility of, broadcasting that as far as I could. And in the book, fortunately, it was picked up by Anomalous Books, who published it, and I guess I picked the right subject because the book sold extremely well and extremely fast early on, and that kind of gave me that boost to kind of carry that on. And so no doubt it is hard to make a living because books take a long time to write, and you're probably not, the readership of these kind of books is a niche market. But I made some T-shirts, and then I started appearing at conferences and speaking, and I would bring books and sell them, and built up a fan base that was enough to kind of keep me going. And then as I wrote more books, it kind of perpetuated, and then eventually was involved in some movies by Small Town Monsters out of Ohio. That these documentaries became successful, and I was narrating those. And still had some band income. So if you put all that together, I am, one of the few to make a living at this. And it's definitely not from selling out or anything. It was always, I like these stories, and I do the most credible research I possibly can. And luckily that people have enjoyed my work.
I could tell that you feel very blessed and fortunate that you are able to do what you love on a daily basis. Most people out there do not get that opportunity to do so. When you look back, and you've been doing this a long time now, do you ever look back and say, wow, how the hell was I able to get a career out of this?
Absolutely. I just, I look back and think, wow, I never even thought you could do anything like this, or at least to this capacity. I thought, well, I'm got talents at writing and music, and perhaps I could write for a newspaper. I didn't know, but I never thought it would be in the capacity of what I truly am passionate about, in the research of creatures and the legends and the stories, and sort of looking at this with with an adult perspective. I never would have thought this was possible. And I think it happens because I've dedicated enough time and effort and done my best at it to where over a long period of time you end up being successful.
Lyle, for people who would love to have a career doing this, there's a lot of trials and tribulations that you have to go through. There's a lot. It's more than just writing a book or bringing together a podcast or a YouTube vlog or anything along those lines. It's travel, it's expenses, it's everything. What advice do you give for people who would love to be able to do what you're doing and be successful at it?
Well, I think the best thing is, definitely do what you're most passionate about. Don't ever try to predict what, people are going to buy or what is the way to make money. Do what you're passionate at and be ready to put in the work, because, you may have to work a day job for many years while you're doing all of this at night and weekends and on your spare time, because it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So you have to be prepared for the long haul. And I think if you have the talent, you're going to, if you're writing books because now you're an author. You have to have talent at writing. So you may need to invest time in that. The research and the expenses, you just got to be clever in how you spend your money and what you write about. Start about writing things that are close to your area. It's not as expensive to travel. So be smart about what you pursue. And I think if you have some amount of talent and you have that dedication that is for the long haul, you could do it with anything. I mean, anything you want to do, you can do it. It just takes a lot of work. So be prepared for the work and stick with it, and hopefully eventually it pays off.
I think a lot of people also have to realize that we're in North America. There's Bigfoot and Dogman all over this gosh darn continent here, and sightings in every province, every territory, every state. And we don't have to go far. Like you said, I never really thought about it that way because I live in the middle of Bigfoot territory here in British Columbia, where I am. I mean, 10 miles, I'm in the forest where we found tracks. So you're absolutely right. You don't have to go far. It doesn't have to be a big or financial stress to get to do what you want to do.
Oh, absolutely. And, I get a lot of, emails and people asking me if I'm going to do a book about this or that. And sometimes it is like, are you going to write about the Pacific Northwest Bigfoot? And, that's a subject I know well, and I'm certainly fascinated with. But in some ways, that's, I've looked for other things. Like nobody had ever written a book on the legend of Boggy Creek and the history of that. And that's obviously much closer. So I learned early on that there's big stories everywhere if you just look for them and you take the time to, talk to people. And, it can be regional but appealing to everyone if you do it in the right way. So, for me, I've kind of specialized somewhat in that kind of southern swampy type thing. And part of that is just because I can reach those areas easier because if anybody's read my books, they know that I don't just Google these things. I try to go there and I describe the place for the readers and I try to interview people firsthand and get a sense of the history. So, those are some of the reasons I've specialized in the southern thing. And, so yeah, I mean, you can just look anywhere and start talking to people and find weird encounters.
Lyle Blackburn is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Lyle, when you are going out on investigation, safety is always first. What do you bring with you?
Well, yeah, that's something you got to be careful about, especially, in terms of going where, Bigfoot-like creatures or dogmen or lake monsters might live. These can be dangerous places, not because you're necessarily going to run across one of these, undocumented creatures, but you have other hazards, snakes and, just the terrain, rocky terrain or swampy terrain. So I try to take what I consider a survival pack, and I learned some of this from studying some of the military and Marine survival training courses. And, you would need a compass, a way to start fires, some rope. Of course, nowadays you can carry a smartphone, but, what if it broke? You need to have a way to navigate yourself that's, reliable. It's not going to run out of batteries. You need to take a good knife. You need the proper clothing, for the environment you're going in, whether that's defense against insects or insulation for cold. So you got to think in terms of those kind of things if you're going to go out into, more dangerous places. I mean, people say they see Bigfoot driving across a country road. So perhaps, that can be a method of research to drive down roads at night. But I like to go into the deepest, spookiest parts because that seems more Indiana Jones to me. So, yeah, definitely try to bring what would be considered survival gear, and always obviously tell people where you're going and, bring someone with you, as a partner.
Do you go in armed?
I do, yes. I have a concealed handgun license and, carry a sidearm into the field, which, is obviously become something that, comes in handy. There's there's, especially down here, there's a lot of feral hogs. The problem is huge, and there's been a couple of cases lately where people have literally been killed by these hogs. Not to mention, cougars, and we don't have a lot of bear here, but if you're in a country with bear, you'd want to take bear mace. So I feel safer having a sidearm just in the event I, was in the wrong place at the wrong time with some animal.
Yeah, I would hate to see that happen. Lyle, there's a lot of people, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people across North America who hunt every year. These are experienced outdoorsmen and women. These are people who can pick up a track from a cougar to a feral hog to a wild horse at the blink of an eye. How come we're not there, or those hunters are not having as many Sasquatch encounters or dogman encounters when they're out there in the wilderness, spending more time than just your average person?
Well, I mean, there's true that's kind of creates a problem, but in truth, there are many hunters that have reported sightings of these type things. I've personally interviewed several hunters that had a pretty dramatic sighting while they were sitting in their tree stand or their deer blind. I don't know how to explain that many of the encounters are by people who aren't necessarily out there like hunters, but there's definitely hunters who see these type things, and there are situations where people say, well, we've got all these game cameras that the hunters put out there. Why aren't these getting better pictures of these undocumented creatures? But there was a study several years ago that actually proved that alpha male coyotes could sense the game cameras and would actively avoid them. So you kind of conjecture that if a coyote could do this, then if you had a creature that was more apt to stay elusive and has more intelligence, would also be able to avoid these. But hunters are often we have a lot of hunters, but they're also predictable as well. I mean, if you put out deer feeders and things like that to draw in deer, well, the deers are tricked by that. But animals, something like a Sasquatch, would sense that, a deer feeder and the human presence, and may just perhaps avoid that area. So if the hunter goes there and gets on his deer stand, well, the Sasquatch is not going to move through, his line of vision anyway, because he's been there before and scouted the area and set up a feeder or whatever. So that's about the best I can conjecture on that.
We've got about 4.5 minutes here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. And I wanted to put our focus on Sasquatch here for a minute, because we had the guys from Olympic Bigfoot Project on last night. And it's very rare that we talk cryptids 2 nights in a row, but that's just the way the schedule kind of worked out here. And I'm glad it did, because I love talking these subjects. But when it comes to this Sasquatch, we always hear how smart it potentially is. What do you think we're dealing with here in regards to the brilliancy, if there is that, of this creature?
Well, part of the reason I would speculate they have a higher intelligence is simply that if they do indeed exist, they would have to be, more intelligent than the average animal, just simply for the fact that they remain unproven and they're, for the most part, elusive. The other reason I would say they're higher intelligence is because, the description there and of itself is something that walks upright on 2 legs and sort of puts it a little closer into the realm of hominid, or something closer to us. And part of the evolution process and theories are that things that have risen up to 2 legs obviously have a capacity to grow a larger brain. So, those are some of the reasons why I would think they're intelligent. I mean, other people have theories beyond that these are other types of beings, and if they are, then certainly they would be having some amount of intelligence we may not can understand. So, if they do indeed exist, I think they're definitely more intelligent than we may imagine.
That's all part of the great debate, as you just said. There are people out there, myself included, I don't mind throwing my name in that hat, in saying that I think there is something very special about this creature. I don't know what or how or why, but in the experiences that I've had myself, along with, hearing many indigenous people's experiences with this creature, there's a lot of people out there who believe there is something almost supernatural with it. And a lot of researchers out there, Lyle, are very closed-minded to even talking about that subject, let alone taking it seriously. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I've always been one to, entertain all theories. I mean, until it's proven, I don't think anybody can say that they're right with any of this. And when you're dealing with something of this paranormal nature and so strange and unexplainable, naturally it's going to have a lot of opinions and theories as about what it is. Me personally, I've kind of always operated under the assumption that they're some kind of biological entity. They're terrestrial, not alien. They're, not solely supernatural, but can do things that would appear that way. I mean, the nature is amazing, camouflaging and certain aspects of animals. Octopus can change its colors and things like that perhaps this can be explained with nature. But that being said, I don't have any problem with other people having other opinions on this, because I certainly don't have an answer. All I can do is base it upon what I've been exposed to and what I've studied. And there's some cases that are just hard to explain in terms of natural, just the natural process. So, I've kind of still on the ground floor with Sasquatch being some sort of a, relic hominid or ape, but I'm not completely closed-minded or anything.
Lyle Blackburn is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are going to step out for a quick break here at the bottom of the hour. When we come back with Lyle, we're going to get into the beast of Boggy Creek. Maybe some of you have heard the legend, maybe some of you haven't, but are eager to do so. We'll learn more with Lyle and his fantastic goatee right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have each and every one of you with us. I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Check them on out while you're listening into the show. Lyle Blackburn is here. He is the legendary writer of The Beast of Boggy Creek, as well as Lizard Man. His website, lyleblackburn.com. Let's talk some monsters now. Lyle, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your time, my friend. Before I ask you about Boggy Creek, I want to ask you one question. Why do you believe all of these creatures are real? Or do you?
Well, I would say I more technically believe in the possibility, without, having definitive proof of any of this. Belief would be more of faith. So, but I do believe in the possibilities, because just based on all the research I've done, the people I've interviewed, what evidence there is to see in some of these cases, and even, honestly, it's like if you boil down to the top 5%, perhaps, of all the witnesses I've interviewed, the top credible ones, the ones where I felt they had truly seen something unexplainable, that is enough for me to continue the pursuit that the possibility is that they're real is ongoing. So that's where I stand on it, and hopefully someday I could, prove it or have some encounter that could be recorded and would offer proof. But that's why I'm still on the case.
What's the closest you've got to proof? Well,
I've come across a couple of what I believe are tracks of Bigfoot-like creatures. And there was one time that I was in proximity to what I think could have been one of these creatures. And this was, in fact, near Fylth, Arkansas, the famous Boggy Creek area, which I've been to many times. But, that just kind of eliminating everything it could possibly be, I just came down to the possibility that one of these creatures was close by. But it was, just as you would expect, just elusive and just out of sight, which is not hard to do if you get in some of these environments and you're in these places in the field. You realize that something could be, 15 feet, 20 feet from you, and would be very hard to see just because there's so much thick woodlands and brush and swampy areas.
Right. How do you think that they are able to move that close towards you, and you can hear them, you might be able to even smell them, but you can't see them? How do they perfect that?
Well, yeah, that is one of the age-old questions in this case. Animals are stealthy. I mean, I've run up on animals, surprised animals that I nearly stepped on, and I just simply didn't see them. And we have to consider the amazing, work of nature. Many animals have, characteristics and abilities that make them able to conceal themselves. Everything is designed to protect them. For example, I mean, tigers look awesome and their stripes are distinctive, but those are designed very specifically to conceal them within their own environments. And I did some survival training with some Marines, and these guys, they just knew how to break up their form, was the terminology they used. I was literally looking straight at them and couldn't see them until they moved. And that was part of their tactics, was as soon as you move, you catch the eye, but if you break up your form and stay still, and this is, obviously this is a human, this isn't even an animal that lives in the woods, for its entire life. If these guys could do it, I would think that something such as a Sasquatch could do it as well. So that to me is part of that possibility. It's part of something that these creatures could have, the skills that they could be very close, from curiosity or whatever reason they would have to get close, yet have the ability to still stay just out of sight.
Let's hop over to the legend of Boggy Creek and this highly aggressive animal that many people think is a Sasquatch. What do we know about this creature, Lyle?
Well, the case here was made famous in the 1970s because there was a movie called The Legend of Boggy Creek, which achieved a high level of success. It was an independent movie made in and around Fylth, Arkansas, which is in the southwest part of Arkansas near Louisiana and Texas. And the movie was made for very cheap and ended up getting a distribution deal and showed in the drive-ins and the movie theaters and later on TV and made millions of dollars. And many, many people saw this and was sort of their first exposure to a southern Sasquatch-like creature. In the movie, it kind of dramatizes roughly sightings from the 1960s to the early 70s. But in my research, I've found sightings that date back to at least 1908. And the description of the creature is very much Sasquatch-esque. It's a creature that stands upright on two legs. It's got ape-like characteristics. It's covered in hair. It leaves footprints that sometimes resemble a regular Bigfoot with 5 toes, and sometimes it's said to have 3 toes. But the creature has been seen numerous times throughout the last century in the Fylth, Arkansas area, and I've interviewed numerous witnesses in that case. So much like Bigfoot itself, we have a case where we've got a lot of eyewitnesses, we've got some scant physical evidence, but we still don't have the ultimate proof. But it's one of the cases that has become so famous in the realm of cryptozoology and Bigfoot just simply because the movie helped, to carry that around the world. And it's truly a fascinating one just because it involves some incidents when this creature apparently tried to get into houses or attack people, and it seemed a little more aggressive than your average Bigfoot, which gave it, something exciting and certainly played well into a movie based upon these accounts. And that's kind of what people have thought of when you think of Southern Bigfoot. A lot of that has been perpetuated by what they've seen in the movie.
By all accounts, with this creature being a little bit more aggressive than, say, what people up here in the Seattle, Washington area, British Columbia, Oregon, say about the Sasquatch up there, they seem a little bit more timid and docile, although they do like to protect their area. What makes this creature act more like a common house cat and just pissed off about everything rather than being like its brethren to the north?
Well, my short answer to that is if I was, big and covered in hair and I lived down here in this humid, hot, swampy area, I would be rather pissed off myself, and I would probably be more apt to cause a little havoc with the humans around me. That being said, it's kind of a bit of misleading in that if you look at a lot of the older early American, Native American accounts of Sasquatch in the Pacific Northwest, you had a lot of tales about these creatures kidnapping kids, about kidnapping women. The Albert Ostman story where one of them picked him up and carried him off. I mean, they didn't ultimately harm him. You've got Ape Canyon, in which they kind of retaliated, apparently, from one of them being shot, but they pummeled rocks down on the miner's cabin. So in many ways, you do have not so much of a division between, Bigfoot that live more north and south. I think it's just individual creatures and the circumstances. So just like any animal, perhaps that we're eating humans, some of them are apt to get, more pissed off or be more laid back. And I think you have a case of where in a concentrated time period, these Fylth monster, Boggy Creek incidents in the early 1970s, the ones that made the newspapers happened to be the ones that the creature was acting aggressively. So that sort of established the reputation that these southern Sasquatch are dangerous. And certainly there's a lot of other cases, and I talk about this in my book Beyond Boggy Creek, where I go and examine all the southern Sasquatch encounters over the years. But I did find a lot of really scary, spooky incidents in which these things were aggressive. So I think, at least in terms of modern times, the southern variety are definitely more apt to be territorial and dangerous.
Are they smaller?
Some accounts, yeah. If you kind of look at the accounts in general, of course, there's similarities in that they walk upright most of the time and are covered in hair. But down here, there are reports of them looking more ape-like, even going to all fours on occasion. And over in Florida, there's they call them skunk apes over there, and some of the descriptions of those they seem smaller. I mean, and I've had people report them in size of being, only 5 or 6 feet tall, as opposed to this sort of 7 or 8 foot tall that we envision Bigfoot. But of course, these creatures, if they're natural animals, then they've got to grow up. So they would be, if somebody saw a 5 foot one, it could be a juvenile. So hard to say if they all are universally shorter or smaller, because there's just so many variables in every encounter and every description. But yeah, I think there are. So it does suggest that the ones down here are a bit smaller and a bit more ape-like than the Bigfoot in the northern part of North America.
So because of the swamp, the creatures, I mean, what do you got there? You got alligators, you have water moccasins. What else do you have that could kill you there or take on a creature like this?
Right. Yeah, I mean, those are definitely two of the main predators or dangers in the area. You've got the cottonmouth water moccasin. There are alligators in the Boggy Creek area in some parts of East Texas and certainly Louisiana, which is nearby. You've got cougars, mountain lions, panthers, whatever you want to call them, which are dangerous. And then the feral hogs apparently are stepping up, and there's been, like I said, reports of them killing people. So and a lot of that, I think, if you get between some of these hogs and their offspring, is when they're going to act this way. But whether any of these would be of any sort of match to a Bigfoot-like creature, I don't know. Perhaps an alligator, but apes don't typically get in waters or swim, so they're probably safe from that. So really, you're looking at the apex predator. If these Bigfoot ape-like creatures exist, then certainly I think they would be the masters of their domain, and nothing could really touch them because there's just no match for them down here.
For most of us, we've never walked through the swamps. I've never seen a swamp. Okay, I've seen ponds, I've seen swampy areas, but never to the likes of what is down there. For people who have never been in that area of Boggy Creek, what is it like traveling through there? How do you get there?
Well, swamps can vary, and there's various types, whether you're talking swamps, bogs, marshes, but what you have here is a bit like most people picture a swamp. You have cypress trees that have what's called Spanish moss hanging on. That's the grayish moss-looking stuff, ghostly moss hanging off. And the land is sort of a mixture between, solid ground and ground that is, sloshy and muddy, and then areas of what's like a bayou channel, which is either a slow-moving body of water, almost like a creek, and that's where the water kind of flows, and then it goes out into a floodplain. So the tricky part about it is if you're just walking through these areas, a lot of times you're just walking and all of a sudden you find yourself on very unstable and very muddy ground, and it's hard to tell the difference. I was out there once, and there was so much duckweed and stuff that had turned brown that it literally looked like ground, but it was not ground at all. It was just something sitting on the water. So you can drive to these areas because there's fire roads and other things that have been built. But once you sort of get out of your car and start hiking into these areas, it's difficult going. It's very muddy, and you've got to have the right, footwear and gear. And a lot of times we get around using canoes because we'll canoe way back in there and then get out and hike, on the ground. So, travel can be accessed by the roads, the canoes, and just walking. But you'll find yourself, if you get out in some of these areas, you are definitely the only person out there. They're very rugged and remote, and just not a lot of people moving through those areas, especially the further back you get into those swamps. So they're rugged places, and they're beautiful places, and kind of spooky and scary and kind of exhilarating, and I really love it.
We kind of have the same thing up here with the dense forests. And it's amazing how when you hear some of these reports coming from where nobody even travels around because, you could get lost there. There's a lot of danger out there. And it's amazing how many skeptics will say, well, it was probably just people. It was probably just, someone out there, teasing you or something like that. But it almost sounds the same of what you're saying, because when you are that far into the deep, dense wilderness, there is nobody around, and there are areas where you can escape. So, when you mention something along those lines, if you could tell the audience, in regards to when you say nobody's around, you're literally talking what? 10, 15, 20 miles, 30 miles, 100 miles?
Well, I would say in the forests of your area, possibly. Here, it's a little more just contiguous. You wouldn't get 100 miles into anywhere. Several miles, possibly. It's just that the terrain is so hard going. It's not all solid ground. It's places where, in some places we go, you have to take a canoe. So it's not that it's necessarily, so many miles in. It's just that the miles that are between you and where the road was are difficult. And nobody, I mean, you're not places that hikers go. Nobody hikes, you know. You might find miles and miles of beautiful forestry and some mountains, and you can hike and hike and hike. This is not a place to hike. So it creates this kind of rugged, you know, hardwood habitat that is difficult to move through. And the only people out there are dudes in boats. You get coon hunters, and you know, there was a coon hunter that had an encounter back there about 20 years ago, in the middle of the night with his dogs, and came up on this ape-like creature that ended up kind of bluff charging him and splashing water at him, and he took off. But you know, this is a place where if you're a coon hunter, there's very few guys out there doing that. That's a hardy and spooky thing to be doing, and you know, there's no mistake that this was not a person that he ran into. Absolutely. So, you know, that's kind of the differences. In all the southern areas, it's kind of the same. There's thick and heavy piney woods, but they're not as contiguous and massive chunks that you would find up in the north. There's a lot to them, but there's a lot down here's a lot of rivers and creeks and waterways where these creatures could kind of move, sort of like their own highways to get around.
Snakes, though. Do you protect snakes? Do you wear those guarded leggings that you can put on?
Yeah, I have snake boots, which are just boots that are up to the knees. Yeah, definitely. That's kind of and I should have mentioned that earlier when I talked about what to take, because yeah, I would not be comfortable walking around with those, because you get in these reeds and high grasses, and you know, I've nearly stepped on water moccasins several times because they're dark and they're up on those muddy banks. You just can't see them till they move, and they're not very friendly, let me tell you that. So I don't want to step on one. So yeah, I wear those, and you know, some such. And you know, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be Tarzan or something, so I'm out there and I often remind myself that I'm doing what I probably never envisioned doing when I was a kid, but what I wanted to do.
Well, you know what? I don't envy you for the snake part. That's kind of the reason why I like living where I live. We got garter snakes. That's it. Now, if you go south by about an hour and a half, then you get into rattlesnake territory. So I don't go down there very often if I don't have to. Just the way it is. There's the rattlesnake pockets of that here. And when I was younger, here in Texas, we have what's called the rattlesnake roundup. And when I was a teenager, my dad announced that we were going to go to the rattlesnake roundup one weekend, which I went. I went, and it involved going and trying to hunt rattlesnakes out from under these kind of rocky ledges. Oh, no. Lyle, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. I don't want to think rattlesnake roundup right now, but when we come back, more Boggy Creek, Lizard Man, Hour 2 with Lyle Blackburn coming up on Spaced Out Radio after this.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. And UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Great to have you with us. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Echoprodic. Echoprodic is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month. And Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. We bring in Lyle Blackburn. Tonight we're talking cryptids, monsters, the Boggy Creek legends, Lizard Man. What else can we get into? We're getting into it all tonight. Lyle's website is lyleblackburn.com, where you can check out his books as well. Lyle, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
In that dense area of Boggy Creek, are there a lot of creatures seen around there, or do you think it's a very few number that are really, really dominating the area?
I think it's probably a small number. I mean, whatever the minimum it would take to create a viable population. And truly, I mean, some of these areas, there's a lot of sightings south of there in a place called Caddo Lake, which is a very swampy, spooky lake that spans from Texas to Louisiana. And in all this sort of area, you have a similar type sightings. It's, of course, if it happens to be up near Boggy Creek, then it's the Boggy Creek monster. If it's near Caddo, it's the Caddo creature or some such. But it's enough area to where you could conceivably have a population of these creatures that people are seeing. But surely their numbers have to be small. I mean, it's just the only way that it makes any sense, because if there was too many of them, obviously there would be more spread out and there'd be more sightings. So I think it's a very few, just enough to, to keep the population going.
Do you think that they are following food sources? So, for instance, if deer are migrating into other areas, that they're following that? Because that is one of the trends that they're trying to figure out here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I mean, that it's a necessity, and if you think about the caloric needs of these type creatures, then they're going to need to spend most of their time searching and hunting down food, and they're going to be opportunistic, and they're going to have to go where the animals are moving. And they're in one interesting thing that kind of ties with that and with the whole hunter thing is that I've noticed there's almost less sightings in the Boggy Creek area during the heavy hunting season from about late October to January. And at that point, you do have a lot of, people in the woods hunting and things in those specific areas. And then I think that they kind of move out of those areas. Obviously, there's people moving. The deer probably don't want to be there either. So perhaps that's why you don't have as many hunters seeing it, because obviously they're going to move to another area and, in pursuit of food or just to be clear of human trespassing in those particular times. And so, yeah, I think they definitely, you have a lot of sightings in a lot of these cases correspond with the waterways. Of course, Boggy Creek is a famous thing that it's connected to Mercer Bayou and the Sulphur River, which runs into the Red River, which eventually runs into the Mississippi River. And if you look at a sort of overview map of these Sasquatch sightings down there, you see that they very much correspond with where the waters, where the most rainfall and where there's the most access to water. And that's because not only do they need water, but the wildlife and the game also needs water. So if you hunt down water, you're going to find food sources. So I think they definitely follow that pattern.
Do you think that they are more carnivorous down in the Boggy Creek area?
I don't know that they're any more carnivorous than any other of these type creatures, because again, I think they would have to consume a lot of calories, and so they would just be opportunistic with whatever they would want to eat. But there's certainly, I think over the past decade, the increase in the population of feral hogs just gives them a huge food source. And I've seen dead hogs strewn all over the place, and hog skulls, and weird things like that. And even a couple of stories by witnesses in the area that saw them grabbing hogs and things like that. So I think that's a huge food source. So if they weren't carnivorous before, they certainly are apt to be consuming some pork these days.
Well, hey, free source, especially the little piglets there as well. Good snacking. Fits in the palm of your hand,
Exactly. Easy pickings, those.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned it too, because up here, the creature said it's believed lives more on berries and wild berries, blueberries, wild raspberries, wild strawberries. Very rarely do you hear the stories up here of it dragging off a deer or a coyote or something along those lines. And I'm just wondering, obviously it all depends on the location and what you can do for any animal to fill its dietary substance. But I'm just wondering if up here they're more vegetarian. I don't know how else to put that.
It could be possible. And I would have to, those are interesting aspects where you could start looking into, what is the volume of berries growing year round and that sort of thing, because the availability of those would certainly tie closely with what they're eating. So, we've got various berries and things growing down here, but it'd be an interesting study to look at specific food sources, and you could often follow what bears eat, because bears are similar size. They're going to require the same kind of foods, so it would be interesting comparison. And I know I've spent a lot of time in the mountains of New Mexico, and I've seen bears eat literally everything, bird seed even. They get in bird feeders and eat. So, I guess it just depends on the availability of the food as to what they're going to eat most.
For sure. This creature down in Boggy Creek, and I'm only going to ask you a couple more questions regarding it. With the aggressiveness that it has shown, has there ever been any stories out there that you have recorded about this creature attacking people, if not killing people?
There's been a few here and there. The coon hunter story where the thing kind of charged at him and splashed water, though it didn't. It could have just killed him if it wanted. It didn't. But the most famous case, called the Ford sighting, which was the climax of the Legend of Boggy Creek movie. It was trying to get in the house. Some theorized it was trying to get at their little dog or what have you, or wanted, was protecting its territory. There was another case where I never could quite track this one down, but it was on a story where supposedly somebody went in there and was killed by a quote-unquote bear, but most believe that the creature had done this. But unfortunately, those are the kind of stories where you often run into dead ends, or, ask this guy because he knows more about it. You just keep following down the rabbit hole. And there was another time when some guys told me, I think this was back in the 1980s, that this thing came out of the woods and was just hemming and hollering and grunting and displaying a very aggressive sort of stance towards them, almost like what you would think a gorilla or something would do. And they've got kind of that, bluff charge and scare you off kind of tactics. This is exactly what they were describing the creature doing. So, but other than that, there's never really been any sort of, obviously, anything I could prove where, there was a death at the hands of one of these type creatures. All these incidents are scary, but nobody was ever killed.
Rock throwing. Is there a lot of that happening?
I don't get a lot of reports of that in the Boggy Creek area, oddly enough. More and more you hear that in association with Bigfoot incidents, and people having rocks hurled at them. Just north of that area into western Arkansas and up in the Ouachita Mountains, which spill over into Oklahoma, there's numerous reports of rock throwing. But up there, there's some more mountainous areas. It's more rocky. Down in Boggy Creek, there's just not as many rocks. It's not very rocky. It's mostly, swampy and dirt and mud. So that could be the reason, simply because they're not picking up rocks everywhere. I don't know, but you just don't get many of those reports in the specific Boggy Creek area.
I always wondered about that, because up north here, we always hear it about people getting rocks thrown at them. I unfortunately have not had that experience. It's one of the ones that I would actually like to have, but it amazes me that people are saying these rocks are being thrown from all different directions in the forest, small rocks, big rocks, etc., and yet the Bigfoot never seem to hit anybody, or they're not throwing it very hard if they do hit someone. And it's rare that you ever hear of a story of someone being hit by one of these rocks.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I've thought about that because, they're either so skilled that they just miss you every time, or they're just horrible shots, because that is the strange thing. Is like often, people will say, the rock landed just, a few feet from me, and it was a pretty big rock. But, there's never been a case where somebody said, the rock hit me in the side of the head, and, here's this big scar. I mean, it hardly ever happens. So I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah, I've often wondered about that myself, because I just do not understand how everybody gets these rocks thrown at them, and yet, I mean, it's got the accuracy of a stormtrooper. I mean, that's the safest place to be, is when it's throwing rocks at you.
Yeah, in a way, it is. It's odd. So I don't know what to make of that. I mean, certainly some of the rocks and this and that, rocks roll down hills and other things, but there's been reported rock throwing where there are no hills. There are no rocks falling from trees, obviously. So if these reports are indeed true, I don't know how to explain that the Bigfoots aren't hitting their target, if they're indeed trying to hit the humans.
Once again, warning mechanism?
Yeah, I think definitely warning. I mean, I think that's the thing. If these things really wanted to harm people, they could easily do it. I mean, they're the apex predator in this case. So, I think it's all just warning, and they're just out of sight, or some of the sightings have been, I think they're curious, or a younger one is just a bit too curious, and he's, putting himself in a place where he can be seen, and the rock throwing is just sort of like, hey, this is our area, get out. We're not going to attack you, but, we're just letting you know. So I would say it's got to be a warning type thing.
Right. Lyle Blackburn is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 6 minutes until we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour, Lyle. And I want to switch gears into Lizard Man. It's the other book that you are very well known for. For people who may not heard this legend, what's this all about?
Well, this is one that also occurs in a swampy area. I guess there's a theme there. But this occurred in the late 80s, in which people near Bishopville, South Carolina, began reporting sightings of a reptilian-type humanoid that the locals began calling the Lizard Man. And this was sort of a brownish or greenish creature that stood upright on two legs. It was humanoid, anthropomorphic in shape, like a human, but was covered in what they believed was rough skin or scales, did not have a tail in most reports, and had three fingers with long claws. And there was numerous witnesses in around the summer of 1988 that reported seeing this. One of the most famous was this young man, Christopher Davis, who had the unfortunate luck of getting a flat tire in the middle of nowhere in the Escapor swamp late at night, and he looked up and saw something with red eyes coming at him through the fennel grass, and quickly threw his tire jack back in the trunk and jumped in his car, and this thing literally tried to get him. And he started up the car and tried to take off, and it jumped on the car and was reaching in there with these clawed fingers and scratched up his car. And all of this stuff eventually came to the attention of this sheriff, the sheriff of Lee County there. And he investigated this, and all this made news, and there was a huge media coverage of these, alleged Lizard Man sightings. And it was a case that I was fascinated with, just because I was a big fan of the Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, and I thought, this kind of sounds like a Creature from the Black Lagoon type thing in modern times. So I went over there to South Carolina and visited with a retired sheriff, and looked into this whole case, which just the whole story was fascinating with this type thing. So just one of those that I'd kind of read about casually in cryptozoology books, and then when I got the opportunity, I went and sort of fleshed out the whole entire fascinating story, which resulted in my book, Lizard Man.
Can you describe the creature for us?
Well, it's most witnesses said that it was about 7 feet tall. It had scaly skin, whether it was greenish or brown. I mean, they said it walked upright mostly. It moved quickly, the ones that saw it move. It had red eyes that either glowed of their own volition or reflected off things. It supposedly had a 3-toed track. Some weird tracks were found and have since been found, which suggests the thing has 3 toes if it exists. That was the general description, and luckily in this case, the sheriff had actually done some real police work and had witnesses come in and write down what they saw. So I was literally able to read these police report affidavits by these witnesses. Some of them actually said they thought it had brownish hair. Some of them said it didn't. Only 1 or 2 witnesses said they thought it had a tail, but in most cases it didn't have a tail. It didn't have any sort of alligator extended jaw or mouth. It was just very much humanoid in its shape, just reptilian in appearance.
My goodness. Aggressive too.
Yeah, and again, you have this kind of same theme of the aggression, and that Christopher Davis, the kid who was attacked, I mean, that story was just picked up by numerous newspapers, carried on the AP. That kid was on like Good Morning America and all these huge shows. Even the Oprah Winfrey show called him and wanted to interview him, though that never aired. But a really bizarre thing, and I think, again, people were fascinated with it because, this thing had, attacked people, and it was something just very bizarre and unknown, and I think that's why, it was so picked up by the news so much.
Question coming from one of our listeners in our Spreaker chat room, coming from Pazrin, new listener to our chat room. Thank you for coming on in. He is wondering if you think Lizard Man could be alien or indigenous to this planet.
Well, certainly that's something when you start dealing with these type reports, is it kind of, moves into that realm of the reptilian theories of alien origin or subterranean dwellers and all that. Most of the people described this in terms of just a terrestrial type thing, and there were no corresponding UFO sightings or no rash of UFO sightings that went along with it. So, to me, it was just some sort of a cryptid, and not the only quote-unquote lizard man that's been reported. There have been, though few and far between, there's been other reports of these type things. So hard to say if it was of terrestrial origin, but there was nothing to suggest, I guess, that it was extraterrestrial or anything like that.
All right, Lyle, I'm going to get you to hold on here because we are going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. We have Lyle Blackburn for one more hour on Spaced Out Radio, so if you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, just ask away, and we'll get that question over to Lyle if you want to talk anything monsters. We are going to continue talking about the Lizard Man when we come back from the break. Lyle's website is lyleblackburn.com. You can find his books there on Amazon, some major bookstores. More Monster Talk on Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're bringing you something new to the documentary world. Beyond the Spectrum will take you on an historic tour of topics like no other: Sasquatch, UFOs, government secrecy, and more, keeping you on the edge of your seats through the eyes of legendary truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and Jack Kasher. Head on over to Amazon Prime or Tubi TV and check us out. Please leave a comment for the filmmakers on their film's Amazon page.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today. Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have each and every one of you with us. I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you on there. All you got to do is check them on out while you're listening to the show right now. They're right there, waiting for you to log on in. Lyle Blackburn is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking Lizard Man here. And Lyle's website, LyleBlackburn.com. Highly suggest you check it on out. Lyle, welcome back.
Thank you.
No problem. Great show for us tonight. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to be on the show.
All right. Joey has a question in our SOR Space Travelers Club. He is asking Lyle if you are familiar with the legend of the Morup, the iguana man of Peru. The people even erected a statue to it. If so, what do you think?
Yeah, interesting. I'm not intimately familiar with that, but I have read about it and have always been kind of intrigued about those South American legends and things like that. That one, again, those either are something they've envisioned as gods or deities, or the statue could reflect something that people have seen. There's been several reports and legends down there that talk about these sort of either reptilian or aquatic kind of beings. And in fact, the Creature from the Black Lagoon movie was inspired by a story that came out of the Amazon area. So that one in Peru is, it's I don't know the facts behind it, but just another great legend and something that could definitely be on the list to pursue in the future if I could do some world traveling.
Wonderful. Wonderful. With this lizard man, because in the alien realm we have so much talk, Lyle, about reptilians. Could this person have seen one of these alien reptilians or people who've had encounters with this creature?
I suppose so, certainly. Nothing's off the table in something as weird as this. In my own research of that, coincidentally, we are talking about a sort of remote and swampy area in which, people would see creatures like this. And if you kind of look at other swamps that have cryptid activity, they kind of mirror this same case of a lizard man. So, again, and I kind of looked into this for sure to see if there was, UFO sightings that had corresponded with sightings of the lizard man. Had there been a UFO sighted that evening or several days before, or even strange lights. And there's really nothing like that was occurring over the sky. So I don't know that it warranted that this was some sort of an extraterrestrial who just happened to be roaming around a swampy area. But ultimately, impossible to say just what it was and what its origin was.
It always makes me wonder, especially when you're getting into lizards without tails. You know, I mean, that's just creepy as creepy can be.
Yeah, those are the kind of things that horror movies and nightmares are made of. And one reason I was attracted to this, because it was, there's plenty of Bigfoot and other things and lake monsters, but this lizard man case was especially creepy. And one of the weird things was that I found out as I just researched this case was that the Native Americans that lived in that area, the Santee tribes and others, actually had a legend about these, what they called men who had come from the sea, and they described them almost in terms of a reptilian humanoid. And they said that they would come and visit, and they'd seen them for many years until the food source and the fish had dried up, and then they never saw them again. But taking the text taken from their stories described them, not in the term of lizard man, but the description was very much construed in a way that you could interpret that as being something similar. And that was interesting because the modern day witnesses who saw these things or had sightings of lizard man in 1986 to 1992, they had no way of knowing that those Indian tribes had described something like this. The young man Christopher Davis, 17-year-old, I'm quite certain that he, had not dug up the history of that area and knew anything about this if he was, prone to making things up. What happened to him, and which was he took lie detector tests. He was interviewed by that sheriff numerous times who said something happened to this kid, something unexplainable. So just when you find those little tidbits of information that kind of support the modern sightings, just raises the hair on the back of your neck. It's just really weird and really creepy.
I want to switch gears here and go to Dogman, because in a lot of these Sasquatch territories, which I realize this is going to sound a little hokey when I say it this way, but would have always been traditional Sasquatch territories where you've heard the reports coming out. Now, all of a sudden, we're starting to see these Dogman-like creatures moving into those areas. Do you think that the Dogman is starting to encroach on Sasquatch territory?
Well, it would appear so. I've gotten an increasing amount of these Dogman sightings over the years. In the last probably 2 to 3 years, it seems like that, for every, 20 Sasquatch sightings, I'd get a Dogman sighting, and it could be from those same areas, which is odd. I don't know whether it's been a proliferation of these type creatures, whether they're disseminating, into other areas. They're going into what is traditionally been areas where Sasquatch is sighted, or whether people are kind of fine-tuning their eyewitness ability to identify different creatures. Because I've thought about that in the past. If prior to a certain number of years ago, if somebody saw something tall and hairy moving on upright or on two legs, they're just going to say it's a Sasquatch. But perhaps now, they're describing it more accurately, and we're thinking, well, maybe that's not a Sasquatch. This is some kind of an upright canid, or a canid that can move upright for a certain period of time. So the jury's still out, definitely, on on why we're getting more Dogman reports, but there's no doubt that there are, and there's more and more stories. And but these didn't crop up overnight. If you start looking back in areas, you will find that there's various cases where people have seen quote-unquote werewolf-type creatures in the past. So interesting subject, and one I've been really keeping my eye on lately.
The aggressiveness of Dogman that we see out there. I have talked to hunters, and there are other reports from spread out all around North America who say when they have raised their rifle at this creature, it's almost like they get some sort of telepathic message that says that if they shoot, it's going to become a real bad day for them. Have you heard those reports, Lyle? And if so, what do you think?
Yeah, I've definitely heard a few of those where they're just kind of this overwhelming feeling of dread or fear in which, they decided obviously not to fire and to get away. I don't know what that's from, but I mean, obviously these creatures get even further off the map as far as the biological possibilities. The whole concept of a four-legged animal standing upright on two legs, thus transforming to a dog man, is strange and unexplainable in and of itself. And then, so it kind of goes hand in hand that perhaps they have some ability or exude some sort of a vibe or something, if you will, that keeps them from being harmed. Because in a way, I think that while I've interviewed hunters who have seen Bigfoot, and I asked them, why did you not shoot it? They said, well, I just couldn't. It looked too much like a man, or there was a possibility it could have been somebody in a suit, and I didn't want to take the chance. But in the case of Dogman, these look much less like a human, and they're much more terrifying. That I think a hunter would have no problem firing, shooting at it just for his own self-defense. So perhaps the reason we don't have one that's been shot is because they can somehow exude this sort of feeling that the hunter needs to put down the gun. I don't know. That's another just a bizarre aspect about this whole Dogman phenomenon.
Do you think that this creature is an apex predator?
I would think so. Yeah, undoubtedly. They're usually described as being larger than any typical canid, and one that, if it can stand up, and I mean, it just becomes that more menacing, but could, conceivably still move quickly, and those kind of teeth and everything else. I don't think you would have any problem taking on most things in the forest.
Who wins, Dogman or Bigfoot?
Well, I think Bigfoot, he is the man, if you will. And I think Bigfoot is always going to prevail. Sort of the King Kong versus even the Tyrannosaurus. King wins, and there's just something about Bigfoot, or that sort of brute, apish strength that is going to overpower even the largest, most fearsome and scariest of dogmen. So I'm going to go put my money on Bigfoot.
Me too. I think he finishes off with a Boston Crab or a camel clutch from back in the day, after a couple of elbows to the back, flurry to the solar plexus. You know how it goes. I think he totally goes old school wrestling, spooks the Dogman, makes it happen right there, Lyle. I really do. Pins him for the 3 count.
Absolutely. I feel that somebody's going to make this movie, Bigfoot versus Dogman. I can see it coming, the rash of these sort of horror films. So, yeah, then we'll see it on screen.
Absolutely. Sticking with Dogman, though, like, this is a creature, when we first started hearing about this, it was all around Bray Road in Wisconsin. Thank you, Linda Godfrey, for breaking that story in 1989. But now we're getting reports all over North America. Do you think this creature is that far spread out so quickly, or do you think that it's misinterpretation by people in what they're seeing?
Well, it's hard to imagine that something could spread that fast. I mean, there's traditionally been some rashes of sightings in Wisconsin and Michigan and moving over to Pennsylvania and Ohio. But now, you're getting them in many more places. I recently researched one in North Carolina. Last week I took a report about one in Texas. So there's just everywhere, and I don't know if that's because they're moving or it's because we're exposed to the concept of the dog man, the sort of persona of this creature, so that now if somebody sees something strange in the woods, that it could be interpreted as a dog man versus, say, a Bigfoot or whatever. Those are things that will be more easily figured out as there is more of these sightings logged, because there's just so many more Bigfoot sightings, for example, or some long history of some lake monster for 200 years, as opposed to the more recent concentration of all these dogman sightings. So I think the more that come in, the more could be sussed out and determined as to whether these are truly, mysterious dogmen or people mistaking other things and thinking they see werewolves. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, do you buy the whole werewolf sighting and everything along those lines that are happening out of Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia? I mean, because that's one screwed up triangle right there, man.
I don't know it kind of boggles my mind as far as the biology of it, of why the animal would need to start moving on two legs. But I mean, evolving and changing is what nature does. So can't can't say it's not happening, but it's one of those things that's almost harder to imagine. It roams in the lizard man territory for me, where Bigfoot seems more plausible, and then you move outside of that, and it's just harder to create an explanation to figure out what it is. So the dogman is very interesting and intriguing, but I've yet to really, and I know people have seen good sightings, like in the Beast of Bray Road case, some really, really good witnesses, and we had a really, really good investigator in Linda Godfrey that looked into those. So there is some really solid reports which say those people saw something, and something that can't be explained. So conceivably other people have seen the same thing. So I guess time will tell.
We've got about 4.5 minutes here before we go to break at the top of the hour. Lyle Blackburn is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. This dogman, a lot of people are attributing it and its look to the Egyptian god Anubis. Yeah, Anubis. Do you think that there is some sort of historical value with this creature?
Well, I mean, if you start digging into folklore and deities and the things that we've always sort of envisioned with these sort of mashups of humanoid creatures or humanoids and other creatures, there is recurring themes in that. You can look at Anubis, and you can look at other places where it was almost like the dog man of its day. So it's really interesting to me how these things perpetuate through time, and what we envision these archetypal monsters as, and what we see in old cultures, and then what we are literally talking about some witness seeing this last week in, right in our own modern times. Whether there's any kind of connection, I don't know, but it's certainly something that is interesting in the story unto itself of the phenomenon of the sort of quote-unquote monsters that we see, and how they are interpreted differently throughout time is fascinating unto itself. So even reptilian creatures in the past versus lizard man and gods and folklore, and they all interconnect in a way, and always interesting to try to unravel those.
How about these reports of these dogman-like creatures running around the deserts of Afghanistan, Syria? Now, that's a little far away. You might not be too familiar with the woo. I realize you're not really a woo factor kind of guy, but we are around here. Just curious if you've read or heard any of those.
I've heard about them, but I haven't really studied it much. Just simply from lack of time to look into it all. But certainly intriguing, and maybe perhaps if they are there, we could harness them and build an army of dog soldiers that would help us in our efforts, perhaps. But I really don't know what to think about it, other than, again, people everywhere see strange things, and it's our pursuit here to try to make sense of it.
It's hard, though, because in the end, people are having these strange, weird occurrences and experiences, and it's very difficult at times, Lyle, and you're more into the roughage than I am regarding this, but it's very hard at times on whether or not you can believe a person, because you want to take them at face value, but sometimes you just can't.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, and there's times when I follow up something and interview a witness, and I just don't buy it for whatever various reasons, whether they're delusional or wish they've seen something or whatever, which is not too much of a problem for me, because I do have a number of witnesses that I do find very credible. So, you just have to do good police work, if you will, investigative work, and try to, throw out the ones that just don't seem credible, that aren't really going to add to the body of research. So you got to be careful when interviewing people as to, not let your own desire for these things to be real to overshadow your common sense, and to discard any of these that could be, delusional or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, is you do have to have some criteria that people hit when going through these reports. They have to, as we get ready for a break here at the top of the hour. And, you're not the first person I've heard say that, Lyle. Definitely won't be the last, but sometimes for you guys who are going through those reports, I feel sorry for you. I really do. Lyle Blackburn is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got him for another 30 minutes here on the show. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we will bring you the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Lyle's website, LyleBlackburn.com. Make sure you check it on out. We're going to get into Momo next on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
We're underway in the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to welcome back everyone listening in on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and down in Ridgecrest, California, KZFX 93.7 FM. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Echo Prodic. Echo Prodic is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we talk about monsters, cryptids. Lyle Blackburn is here. His website, lyleblackburn.com. You could grab his books off his website, Amazon, any major bookstore. I highly suggest you do. He's one of the top in the field. And he's even got his trademark cowboy hat on tonight for us. Thank you, Lyle. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I've got to give the listeners what they want here.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. It's all part of the show. It's all part of the show. They can't see you, but we know it's on. That's all that matters. You have a brand new book coming out about the legend of Momo. Tell us about Momo. What were you able to learn?
Right. Yeah, that's my latest book, Momo, The Strange Case of the Missouri Monster. And that was one that I also had an appreciation for, and I've been wanting to cover that for some time. It was another one of these strange cases, kind of similar to the Boggy Creek case. This occurred in the early 1970s, in which a whole community was basically turned upside down by sightings of this upright, hairy, ape-like creature in the town of Louisiana, Missouri, which is in the far eastern portion, right on the Mississippi River. And the seminal incident occurred in July of 1972, in which a couple of kids were playing out in their backyard that backed up to this wooded area called Marzoff Hill. And they looked up and they saw this huge hulking creature standing there, covered in hair. It had hair covering its face. It had a huge pumpkin-sized head, and it was holding what appeared to be this dead dog in its hands. Well, of course, they screamed and ran for the house. Their older sister looked out and saw the thing standing there in the trees, and the brothers came rushing in the house, and they called their parents, and their father, Edgar Harrison, came out, and of course, by the time he got there, the thing had gone, and this all turned into months-long case that involved the police going on searches on Marzoff Hill, a lot of newspaper coverage, people coming from out of town to hunt the creature. There was even sightings of strange lights in the sky and UFO activity, which only added to the mystery that was going on. And this is one I had read about early on in a book when I was a kid, and always thought it was cool, just the name Momo, which is a conglomeration of the abbreviation for Missouri, M-O, and then monster, so Momo. Sounds a bit cuddly, but in truth, the descriptions of the creature was far from that. It was quite scary and haunting. And anyway, so this little town just was kind of in the turmoil of a monster frenzy that summer. And as an adult, looking back on what I had read as a kid, of course, now I decided I was going to go up to the town and look into the whole case and interview who I could, and just write a book on the whole thing. And that was a great experience, and that book's been out for a little bit now. So
this legend of Momo, this is one of those cryptid stories that just seems to come out of nowhere. And for many people, myself included, I didn't know that this had a real long history to it. It's only been the last year or so that I've been hearing about it, and many others as well. What makes this case now all of a sudden jump to the forefront of these new cryptids that we're trying to solve?
Well, I think some of these are what I would consider sort of the classic cryptid cases that no one had ever really given full attention to. They've been covered in newspapers, and Fate magazine back in the day, Richard Crow, the late Richard Crow, did write up a pretty good coverage, and guys like Jerome Clark and Lauren Coleman had written up stuff. But over time, what's happened is this, at least in terms of Bigfoot lore, Momo has become an icon among Bigfoot-like creatures. And so that if I get a report from, say, Missouri, a lot of times it will start with the eyewitness saying, "I saw a Momo." So it's interesting to me that the terminology, that the regional term for the creature then becomes that regional name for any Bigfoot-type creature seen in the area. For example, in the Ozarks of Missouri, people will call it a Momo. So I wanted to go back and build, find all the research and all the articles and the whole thing and write the complete story, which, as always happens, I find that there's more to the story than just simply, a summer of sightings. There had been sightings up and down the Mississippi River some 50 years before that of people reporting, ape-like creatures fitting the Momo description. It's just that they were never really highly publicized and things like that. But when you start putting these together and building sort of a timeline and a geographic map, you see that something is going on there and being reported by people who seemingly don't know about the other reports. In fact, in the Momo case, a year before the Harrison kids had seen it, there were some women traveling down through that area, and they stopped off one afternoon to have a picnic at a scenic turnout which overlooks the Mississippi River. And as they were eating their sandwiches, they got the whiff of this awful smell, and they were looking around, and one saw this ape-like creature kind of emerge from the brush. And, of course, it frightened them, and they ran immediately to their car, jumped inside. It was a Volkswagen VW at the time. And this thing advanced and was coming at them. Well, they realized they had left their keys on the picnic table, so they couldn't leave. And this thing looked in the window and was looking at them, and they honked the horn, and it eventually ran off into the woods. But the Harrison kids had never heard of this sighting. It had not been publicized till after all that media circus. So anyway, I find those things very interesting and part of that whole story. So the Momo book was fun to write. It was like going on an adventure that I had wanted to go on as a kid, and I finally was able to do it.
Now, with this creature, I mean, it's like a Bigfoot. You know, what's the difference between traditional Bigfoot and this Momo-type creature?
Well, the main difference was that people reported it having a large-size head. The kids described it as a pumpkin-sized head, and on top of the hair that was on the head covered the face. So that was something unique about it, and something that was, you know, left to conjecture whether this, especially in hindsight, is this a Bigfoot or is this something completely different? And of course, when you factor in that people were seeing UFOs in the area, and there was certainly a rash of UFOs at the time, not just in Missouri, but in Illinois and Pennsylvania, that people would conjecture that perhaps, you know, this was some kind of an extraterrestrial entity or something of that nature. So, yeah, it's different, and it's, you know, different in description from the Fylth monster, and different from, you know, skunk apes and Bigfoot. So these are all those strange differences in description that leave us wondering whether these are variations of the same species, or they're something totally different, or are the witnesses seeing something and describing it slightly, you know, exaggerated or wrong. It's hard to say.
How often is this creature spotted?
During the initial rash of sightings, you know, there was, you know, one every several days there in 1972, and then before and after, you know, every several months perhaps. Since then, once I think the police plunged onto Marzoff Hill and were hunting and everything else, the thing kind of disappeared. But ever since then, you still get a fairly consistent log of sightings coming out of there of Missouri Bigfoot sightings. So if it's the same type creatures, then it's just something that's been ongoing ever since.
So with this creature, does it have a lot of the same characteristics that we see with the Boggy Creek monster, which is aggression, which is you know, pushing people out of the territory?
I think there's some similarities because on a couple of occasions where people just said that it had a dead dog in its hands, it was certainly more frightening just in its appearance. I think a lot of it was just that it was frightening. Although in the case of Momo, other than the incident where it came up and was looking in the car at these witnesses, though it wasn't trying to get in, most of them are just simply more scary and not necessarily aggressive. So Boggy Creek still wins, I suppose, for most aggressive. But Momo certainly a bit spookier than your average ubiquitous Bigfoot sighting.
I have some questions here from our audience. If you don't mind, we'll go to Twitter. And Greco is asking, is Bigfoot flying UFOs in your opinion? And what do you think their relationship is to extraterrestrials or UFOs?
I don't think Bigfoot is piloting crafts. I understand the question and all that, and while there are some Bigfoot sightings that correspond with UFO sightings, by and large, Bigfoot is just simply something that people see in the woods, and there is just no reason to believe that they are extraterrestrial. There is so much a description and so much a product of our earthly terrestrial characteristics that and on top of that, no one, I think it was one report, but other than one perhaps, no one has ever seen a Bigfoot get off of a spacecraft. So it's a huge leap of conjecture and speculation to say that they're extraterrestrial in any way. And that's my opinion, is they're just simply unrelated. And if there is a UFO sighting that corresponds to a Bigfoot account, it's just simply that those phenomenons do exist and are being reported frequently, and at certain times they are going to intersect in some way. But by and large, Bigfoot is just Bigfoot, and UFOs are of the skies.
All right, let's move on here to a question from Maureen, who is asking, Lyle, do you feel that the loss of habitat for all of these creatures will lead to more violent interactions with people?
Yeah, certainly. I think that would only stand to reason that any animal that's losing its habitat, it's being encroached, is going to react that way. I mean, even in my neighborhood, there's just still so much, building of houses and such that I've seen these reports where coyotes are aggressively attacking people, and I've never heard of that in this area before. So I would think, surely, if there are a population of Bigfoot out there, if we keep cutting into the forest, then they are not going to like that. Every animal is going to rebel against that. So, yeah, good question, and I think that's going to happen.
Do you see a day when we are able to, have some admittance to this, or do you believe that that there are people in the know, in maybe government groups or alphabet groups or whatever, that know these creatures exist? Are you part of that, believing that conspiracy?
I'm not much of a conspiracy type, but I suppose anything's possible, although I just don't have a lot of faith in the government accomplishing anything, especially keeping a secret like this. If they had any such proof of Bigfoot or anything like that, as to why somebody couldn't have leaked some pretty credible information about that. And the other question is why? Why would they keep it a secret? I mean, I don't know what reason. I understand maybe a logging company would not want people to realize there's Bigfoots in their woods because they'll stop them from logging. But the government, I just don't know why they would want to cover it up and what resources they would dedicate towards something like that. I don't see it.
Mm-hmm. The logging companies is the one that makes the most sense, because if anything new comes into the environment, immediately that logging area is shut down, costing millions upon millions of dollars to these logging crews and companies who can't get the wood out of the forest. But on the flip side, if the government has to come in and do a search, much like what happened in Oregon with the owls in protecting a species, do you think if Bigfoot was found to exist and proven to exist, that we are looking at a potentially endangered species?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we would have to consider them endangered just by conceivably what the numbers are out there, which has to be well below most, species of their size. Bears or cougars, there's even less of these. It would be, it would be an earth-shattering thing to find something like that and to bring one out and prove it and to realize there's more in the woods. What do we do with them? Ultimately, I don't think it's going to stop industry from plowing over forests or anything like that at all, because we're plowing down the rainforests for various reasons to make farms or livestock, and it's damaging our entire planet, yet we still do it. So I don't think even Bigfoot itself could stop the destruction of our environment.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Lyle, I think it's people like you who are at the forefront of this who have to bring this out and probably will bring this out. What do you think you need to do differently or continue doing in order to prove any existence?
Well, I think it's a hard thing because there's so much stuff out there that makes this kind of a joke. With YouTube and graphics abilities, it just constantly was something out there that turns out to be bunk. So I think the best thing I can do is to not overreact, thoroughly investigate something before I decide to talk about it or to include it in a book or whatever I do, is to really try to, offer up the best and the most credible of the sightings and evidence rather than just throwing it all out there, because that's not helping anything, because a lot of times with some time you can prove it to be faked or hoaxed or what have you. So it's just more about being a little bit more scientific minded, using common sense, using good journalism, and trying to elevate the subject from, beef jerky commercials to something that, hey, we may have a groundbreaking mystery on our hands. Let's give it the attention it deserves and try to, sort it out once and for all.
Yeah. One final question for you tonight, Lyle. This one comes from Joe in California, who is asking, Lyle, where did you get your famous cowboy hat?
I get that question a few times. Actually, it came from Mexico, actually. I bought it 21 years ago, and it's handmade, made in Mexico, and I've kind of looked around for a backup all these years and never been able to find one exactly like it. So it is sort of my most prized possession of all, and what people recognize me by at this point, I suppose.
Wonderful. Lyle, I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good luck in your research. Good luck in your 2020 year for research, conferences, and new books. Keep on writing, my friend. Keep on doing the great work.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. This is my final show of the week. Everett Thiemer will be in the hot seat the next 5 nights while I am perusing the weird and strange UFO world down at UFOCon 2020. Don't forget Lyle Blackburn's website, by the way, lyleblackburn.com. Check out his books there. We'll be back to bring this thing home right after this.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiener. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have all of you with us. Reminder to all of you, if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Only thing I ask, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate that. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, doing a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Speaking of the news, let's get to it. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the downright sleepless. I'll tell you, I'm pretty excited here because when we sign off at midnight, just to give you a little rundown, I'm on my way to San Francisco tomorrow for UFO Con 2020, where I will actually have 2 speeches now, not just one, but 2. I get to open up the event, and then I'll be speaking on Sunday again. Kind of excited about that. Thank you, Lorian Fenton, for the invite and the opportunity. Now, hopefully this stupid cold that decided to flare up yesterday will be gone by then. Who knows? So here's my day. You'll like this. We're going to sign off the air at midnight Pacific, and I'm going to shut down the entire studio. And because my studio is in my house, I'm going to run upstairs. I got to finish up my packing. I'm almost done. Almost. And then hit the hay, go to bed. I'll be up at 3:30 in the morning. Be out of my house by 4. Drive to Abbotsford, British Columbia, which is about 4.25 hours away. Visit my parents for about half an hour. Then my father's going to drive me to the airport because I kind of like hanging out with my dad. Hop on my flight at about 1:40. Get to San Francisco about 4 o'clock. And then the festivities begin. Oh, yes. Let the festivities begin. I hope if you're in that area, you can come join us because I'd love to meet you. I got posters stored up for the event as well. All right, here we go. It's going to be a unique and very different for the Fredericton Region Museum, says its executive director. Why? Volunteers at the museum typically spend hours recrafting military uniforms and wedding dresses from the 19th century, But for the next 5 months, they will be designing alien replicas made from chicken wire. Yeah, Melinda Jarrett, executive director, is organizing an exhibit to commemorate the life and work of Stanton Friedman, the famed ufologist and nuclear physicist who passed away last year. Jarrett and Friedman became friends in the early 1990s when Jarrett proposed filming a TV documentary on the UFO researcher. He was a very nice man who I was very honored to have met and got to know, she said. Friedman published dozens of papers about UFOs and co-wrote several books on the subject, including one about Barney and Betty Hill, a couple who claimed to have been taken by aliens in 1961 while returning to the United States from a visit to Montreal. Friedman died in May 2019 at Toronto Pearson Airport while on his way back from a speaking engagement in Columbus, Ohio. He was 84 years old. In 2017, Friedman contacted Jarrett about creating a museum with his UFO documents and artifacts. I said, Stanton, that's a big undertaking. I knew he had enough archival material and artifacts, having been to his house, and anybody who has seen Stanton's house knows that it's an experience in itself. It was a museum. Jarrett recommended Friedman donate some of the materials to the provincial archives of New Brunswick, which he did, 5 truckloads worth. That was the last conversation they had had. After the ufologist died, Jarrett contacted Friedman's daughter, Melissa, about putting together an exhibit in his memory. Last fall, Jarrett went to a storage facility and collected 8 boxes worth of Friedman's documents, audiovisual material, and other items that the provincial archives hadn't already collected. The storage thing was like 3/4 filled with boxes of Stanton's stuff, including, among them, some very odd pieces. Nestled in the boxes and dozens of artifacts from Friedman's life, including a Betty and Veronica comic book Friedman was featured in, a set of ping pong balls with his face on it, awards, family photographs, and letters from the CIA refusing to talk to him. There was also a bronze statue of an alien with Converse sneakers from the MUFON. The figurine is essentially the Oscar of the UFO world. We just started opening up these boxes, and it was one thing after another after another. Jarrett said the exhibition is suitable in a way to honor Stanton's legacy, a man whose passion for UFOs even led the city of Fredericton to declare August 27, 2007, Stanton Friedman Day. Stanton was a part of our community, and he had very interesting roles to play that took him out and beyond Fredericton and into the worlds beyond. I think he deserves this honor. That's awesome. They're going to open up the exhibit in July, and it will run through the year. It's going to be unique, very different at the, once again, Fredericton Region Museum. God, I'd love to get to that. That sounds just awesome. In Pueblo, Colorado, at 3:33 a.m. Friday morning, terrified McDonald's employees called police after hearing demonic sounds from a screaming woman inside the restaurant. According to the police captain, Tom Rummel, the employees also reported sounds of a strange language and barking. They were so unnerved by the sounds that they wouldn't even be going back outside their building until after the sun came up, Rummel tweeted. 3 officers searched the area but didn't come up with the source of the disturbance. Oh, that's creepy. Creepy. The Dubai-based creators of a jet-powered wingsuit say they marked a new milestone for Iron Man-style flight, taking off from the ground for a high-altitude flight. The Jetmen Dubai team has previously demonstrated the jet-powered wingsuit with flights that involve taking off from elevated platforms. But Friday's test at Skydive Dubai in the United Arab Emirates marked the first time the suit took off from the ground and transitioned to a high altitude, reaching nearly 6,000 feet. Vine Rafet, the Jetman pilot who conducted the demonstration, showed off the suit's ability to hover, stop, turn, and maneuver in the air. The approximately 3-minute flight saw Rafet fly at an average speed of 150 miles an hour before parachuting to the ground from a height of about 5,000 feet. One of the next objectives is to land back on the ground after a flight at altitude without needing to open a parachute. It's being worked on right now, Rafet said in a statement. One of the most important archaeological sites for our understanding of Neanderthals is still disgorging its secrets. A new skeleton has been found in Chandinar, cave in Iraqi Kurdistan and is helping reveal how the Neanderthals dealt with their dead. Shanidar Cave is famous for what is known as the flower burial. Among 10 fragmentary Neanderthal skeletons unearthed there in the 1950s and 60s, one was found with clumps of pollen mixed in with its surrounding of dirt. This was interpreted as evidence that the bones belonging to a man aged between 30 and 45 had been buried with flowers, a funerary rite. It contradicted other previous reports and understanding of Neanderthals as animalistic, uncultured, and unsophisticated. But this interpretation was a controversial one, and others put forward alternative explanations, such as the deposit of pollen by an animal. Pollen, that is. More evidence has since emerged that Neanderthals were way smarter than we initially gave them credit for, but it has been a long time since they walked the earth, and their remains are pretty rare. So the question remains, how did the Neanderthals deal with their dead? Now, archaeologists have found another partial skeleton in the cave, not necessarily new remains, but possibly the rest of one of the initial 10, of which only small fragments were found originally. It's the first articulated Neanderthal skeleton to be excavated in 20 years, and the first from the cave in over 50, and it seems to point out deliberate burial. The archaeologists have named the skeleton Shanidar Z, or Z. So much research on how Neanderthals treated their dead has to involve returns and defined from 60 to even 100 years ago, when archaeological techniques were more limited, and that only ever gets you so far. All right, let's move on here. The failed implosion of an 11-story building in Dallas, Texas, left behind a structure dubbed the Leaning Tower of Dallas. The former affiliated computer services building near the city's downtown was supposed to be demolished Sunday, but the implosion failed to bring the building down at the center of the structure, which remained in place, albeit now lopsided. The structure was dubbed the Leaning Tower of Dallas online, where social media users shared photos of people pretending to hold up the building's remains. Lloyd D. Neighbors Demolition said the remaining structure will be brought down this week using a crane and a wrecking ball. The company said implosions that leave behind the core of the building are fairly common. The building is being removed to make way for the Center, a $2.5 billion mixed-use project. An Uber driver is being accused of firing shots at passengers who told him he was driving the wrong direction. Well, he's now been arrested in Louisiana. Ahmad. I love it when people have the first and last names the same. Picked up the passengers after midnight Sunday morning from a bar in New Orleans. They requested that he take them to a location in Kenner, about 15 miles west of downtown. When Ahmad began driving the passengers across the Mississippi River, the passengers informed him he was going in the wrong direction. New Orleans police said in a news release, an argument began and Ahmad stopped the car. One of the victims called police while another ordered another Uber. After the second ride-hailing driver arrived, Ahmad allegedly took the key out of the car's ignition, got a gun from his own vehicle, and then fired shots at the victims. Police say the victims were able to run away from the gunfire. Ahmad drove away but was arrested after he returned to the shooting scene. Ahmad was booked in jail in Orleans Parish on aggravated assault, theft, and illegal use of weapons charges. He has since been released. It's unclear whether he had an attorney who would comment on his behalf. Bad guy. Watch out for those Uber drivers. A Miami woman wounded in a drive-by shooting was told she suffered from a graze wound and sent home with a bandage, literally a Band-Aid on her head. But later she found out she still had a bullet lodged in her skull, according to reports. Shakina Jefferson and two other people suffered gunshot wounds near their home in southwest Miami-Dade a week ago. She was taken to a local hospital where a doctor wrapped up the wound near her left temple, gave her antibiotics, and sent her home. Her wife, Janet Medley, told the network, but Jefferson soon began experiencing headaches. When we got home, she started complaining about, "Bae, I got a headache. Medley, who was wounded herself when the shooting happened. She was experiencing short-term memory loss. She couldn't remember anything. She kept on repeating the same thing over and over. 3 days later, Medley took Jefferson to another trauma center where an X-ray discovered the slug. We are so grateful to be here, so grateful to be alive, Medley says, where Jefferson was recovering at Baptist Hospital. Medley said she and Jefferson planned on taking legal action against the first hospital. They put a Band-Aid on her head, gave her antibiotics, and sent her home. We could have done that ourselves at home. Police Detective Artemis Colomb says that no arrests have been made. He said all of the victims are gay, but that the shooting by the gunman on ATVs has not been classified as a hate crime. We're definitely looking into this as a very violent crime. We will see if we get more information, and if it does come to that, then obviously there will be an additional charge that we can add. As of right now, we don't have enough to determine that. We're not discarding it, but we don't have enough right now to definitely make an additional charge. Scary, eh? After much anticipation, we now know exactly how millipedes have sex. Wonderful. Another one of these fantastic scientific endeavors that we're wasting money on. With the help of imaging techniques that take advantage of glowing millipede tissues, researchers have eliminated the arthropod's intricate mating process. This finding marks the conclusion of a nearly 80-year quest to uncover the millipede's genital structure, because that's important to all of us. After a pair of millipedes started getting it on, researchers from the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago scanned both individuals, one male, one female pair, in an electron microscope. Bug porno. Excellent. Perverts. They also captured dozens of photos, more perverted, at slightly varying angles on a digital camera. Can we say bug porn hub? We could make some money here. But layering them digitally, they were able to clarify tiny genital details. Isn't that nice? Give the bugs a complex. They photographed the millipedes in both natural and ultraviolet lights, since their genitals glow under UV lighting. In a press release, the Field Museum compared the resulting photos to a rave, albeit one made up of microscopic millipede genitalia. Over at UC Davis, why is UC Davis always involved with these type of studies? Anyways, collaborating scientists placed individual millipedes into test tubes and ran micro-CT scans, which captured and layered a series of X-ray images to visualize the bugs in 3D without the need for any dissection. By examining the 3D renderings, the researchers noted that the male and female millipedes likely mate in a lock and key formation. Who's tried that? Hands up. Researchers learned that the male gonopods, what the hell is a gonopod? They're a specialized pair of legs to use to insert sperm into the female. Well, there we go. First become covered in bluish ejaculate. Then he places a tiny fleshy part of the gonopods in the female's vulva. At this point, the two millipedes lock together. Post-coitus, the female vulva may seal themselves closed with a gooey secretion that traps the sperm inside. When she lays her eggs, they're coated in the stored sperm, which completes the fertilization process. Bingo, bango, job is done. We have a touchdown, people. Yeah. Anyways, once again, good money being wasted on silly science. Do we really care? Does it matter? I don't think so. But then again, that's my opinion. Nice clown, Marty. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Since I'm heading to San Francisco for UFOCon 2020, in about 4 hours' time, what conference would you like to attend and why? Who would you like to see speak? Canadian Joe. I'd really like to attend the Alien Cosmic Expo in Toronto and finally meet you in person, Dave. I look forward to giving you what you so richly deserve. And then he puts a gif of a wrestler hitting another wrestler named Disco Inferno in the back with a steel chair. Wow. Greg, always fancied one of these UFO cons. Don't get many over in Scotland. I hear you, man. I hear you. We'll try and make that happen. We will try and make that happen. One day. Let's go over to Facebook. Eric Cooper. Birthday Cooper. Have fun in San Fran, brother. Maybe S4 could join you next year. I hope so. Probably be the year after that, because Lorian does you on 2-year rotations. Sparkles. Sorry that I cannot attend. I wanted to so much. I can't because of my pup. I know you will be a huge contributor to the event, not only with your presentation, but because you are such a cool dude. Thanks, Sparkles. Patrice. I would like a conference with Dr. Maria Mayer, a world-renowned primatologist, about primate behaviors. That would be cool. Kevin. I want to go to San Fran for UFOCon 2020, Dave Scott. Seriousness. Enjoy. Appreciate that. Captain Shirk. That would mean I'd have to get dressed and leave my apartment, wouldn't it? I think I'll pass. William Pullen. The 2020 Roswell UFO Festival. Oh, wait. I go every year. That's why you have a power stash, man. That's why you have a power stash. And Jaretta gets the final word tonight. Travel safe, Dave. Thank you, Jaretta. Hopefully I can keep my eyes open. Like I said, I'm up in 3.5 hours, so I think it's time to wrap this thing up. We want to say thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave today on Facebook and Twitter. The next time it will be done will be on Monday, the 24th of February, when I am back. We'll have Butch Wachowski. I want to say this. Everett Thiemer is going to be in for the next few nights. He's got some great guests. Mike Ricksecker, Wednesday night. Sarah Peters talking tarot, Thursday night. MJ Benias about his tour of Skinwalker Ranch on Friday. Doug Ward, Monsters on Saturday. Then on Sunday, Everett will finish off his long week with probably, I don't know who he has on booked for a guest, and he hasn't told me. It'll be a surprise. Good luck, Ev. Thank you, Captain Shirk, for the great news tonight. And to Lyle Blackburn for coming on in, talking Boggy Creek, Monsters, Lizard Man, Dog Man. It was awesome. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Also, big thanks to everybody listening in on LGAB, Spreaker, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, and, of course, all the snarkers and snarkettes on Twitter at hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your night with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great week, everybody. I will talk to you on Monday. And if you're in the San Francisco area, come to UFOCon 2020 at the Holiday Inn Express Airport Hotel. I'll see you there. Have a great one. Enjoy Everett. Good night.